Hello, this is Father Simeon, and welcome to our weekly video. Normally, I will present a week in review of some of the saints for the week that is upcoming, as well as maybe some theological teaching about the life of the church. Today, I'm not going to really talk about the saints on the calendar next week, as much as I am going to talk about the calendar itself. The calendar, the church calendar, really gives us this rhythm of life. We live the life every single day, and every single day there is something to focus on that is a little bit different to increase our faith. So I'm going to talk about that today. If you go to our Antiochian Orthodox Christian Archdiocese of North America website, that is antiochian.org, on the homepage, you will see basic information for the day. So here on the day that I'm recording this, which is Thursday, October 27th, you will see here the day of the week and the commemorations for those days, the saints that we were remembering on this day. You can look those up and find out more about them if you would like. We have the epistle reading, the gospel reading. If you keep going down on this homepage, then you will find underneath the gospel reading, you will see if it's a fast day, how we are fasting. If it is, today is a Thursday, and there is no fast today. Wednesdays and Fridays, of course, are fast. It will give that information. If the fast is relaxed a little bit, like a wine and oil day, we fast, but we have wine and oil or fish, that should be in that section as well. But you will see a link to the liturgics page. And if you go to our liturgics page, you can get more information. Some of the information looks the same. You will see here the date at the top, but you'll be able also to select the date and find more information. If you want to go forward in time and see what a commemoration is coming up, or look at the next week, you can go day by day and see what we're commemorating next week to see if there's a major feast, if something is happening. You can also see what the gospel or epistle readings are. Over there on the side, there's a daily liturgical text section. If you're using some devices, you may see that underneath. So you may, if you don't see it on the side of your page, you may look underneath information, just scroll down and find it. But that daily liturgical text will have sometimes like Vespers or Orthros, which is Matins, or the Divine Liturgy text as well, which is important for us when we worship, but it's also very good for Bible study or finding out the theology of the services, the doctrine that is taught to us in the services, the aspects of spiritual history that the services remind us we're part of that continuing unfolding of history. So again, I'm recording this on Thursday, October 27th, and let's look at something else here. Upcoming is November 1st. And you will notice that November 1st is the commemoration of Cosmos and Damian, the Holy and Mercenaries. Remember, a holy and mercenary is a physician who healed with the grace of God, in addition to the medical sciences of the day. And they were unmercenaries because they were healing with God's grace. They did not take money for their work. They were not mercenaries, but unmercenaries. They're a whole family of saints, a class of saints that are the holy and mercenaries of the church, and three sets of men who are named Cosmos and Damian. So this is Cosmos and Damian of Asia, and this set of Cosmos and Damian, we commemorate them with their mother, Theodota. So that is November 1st. Remember that date, November 1st. Of course, in our culture, we have October 31st, right, which is Halloween in American culture. But for the church, Remember, November 1st, Cosmos and Damian Day. I want to mention that if you go to the Greek Archdiocese website, you can see a nice calendar that is in grid form. Sometimes it's in a list form, but you may find a button that says grid. So you can see it really as a monthly calendar like this. Again, November 1st, Cosmos and Damian. I recommend, since our school is really part of the Antiochian tradition, that you check out the Antiochian website. Sometimes you will see it as identical to other calendars, but you may find that perhaps dates may be a little bit different. Sometimes, for example, my patron saint, the day of his repose is March 12th, but I think it was the Greeks that moved his commemoration to October 12th to keep it out of Lent. So some calendars, it may be March 12th, some October 12th. So what we really care about is, what is our archdiocese doing? When we deal with calendars, that's really the question. What is the calendar my parish is following? What is the calendar the school is following, which is the Antiochian calendar? Because we'll talk about calendars. There are variations. So being Antiochian, we may have saints that have particular veneration. We may have a particular emphasis on, because they're from the region of Antioch, because they're from the Middle East. And you may not see that same sort of emphasis outside of the Middle East, right? It might be kind of more of a local veneration, that being Antiochians in America, that saint may be given a special feast day or something. So just check out the Antiochian calendar. But the Greek calendar pretty much follows our calendar, or really the other way around. The Greeks and Antiochians, Antioch was in the Byzantine Empire, right? Which is properly called the Eastern Roman Empire. So we tend to liturgically possess a lot of commonality between the Greek Archdiocese and the Antiochian Archdiocese. So the calendar, you should expect it to be pretty much the same, but to be safe, check out the Antiochian calendar. But I often use the Greek app and their calendar, the monthly calendar, when I am doing these videos, or just daily, really. I want to mention something. There is another calendar at work within the Eastern Orthodox tradition. Many of us follow what is called the revised Julian calendar. Calendars are originally really founded upon astronomy, but over time, the calendar sort of loses time in some sense. So there was a point where some Orthodox churches said, okay, we want to revise the calendar, and Greeks and Antiochians, for example, our civil calendar and our church calendar are the same, right? So November 1st on your ordinary calendar and November 1st on the church calendar is identical, but that's not always the case for some churches. They use the older, unrevised calendar called the old calendar. It's an Eastern calendar, or the Julian calendar. And some of our faculty at St. Constantine follow this calendar. So you may say happy feast day to someone, and they may tell you that feast is actually coming up for them in a couple of weeks. Or some of us may be in a fasting period, and you may be confused because they're not fasting maybe for a couple more weeks. And it may be because they're on the old calendar, which really the calendars are the same. It is just that the civil calendar and the church calendar do not match, right? So, for example, I pulled up November 1st on the church calendar, and you will notice that for Antiochians and Greeks at the school, November 1st on the church calendar is the same as the civil calendar. But you will notice here, November 1st on the church calendar doesn't happen until the civil calendar. The secular calendar says November 14th on it. So they are not the same. And you'll sometimes see in Orthodox texts 2 dates, get one date / another date. And sometimes that is new calendar and old calendar, so that those who are like the Russian tradition, Serbian tradition, will all be able to see what we are commemorating. And I want to mention this too. You may have heard someone refer to Russian Christmas and heard that the Russians celebrate Christmas on January 7th. Well, most of us celebrate Theophany. We celebrate Christmas December 25th, and then Theophany or Epiphany on January 6th. But notice this: January 7th on the Russian calendar, the civil calendar, is actually December 25th. So Russians and others, they're actually celebrating Christmas on December 25th like the rest of us. It's just that December 25th for them on their church calendar falls on the civil calendar on January 7th. So I thought I would mention that. There's no such thing as Russian Christmas in that sense. They're celebrating it on December 25th like the rest of us. But again, their December 25th on the church calendar falls later on their civil calendar. I also want to mention there is another calendar at work within the Orthodox Church, a minority of Orthodox Christians. Nevertheless, in the Western world, you may know this, Halloween is All Hallows Eve, and because November 1st is All Saints Day, right? So this is a Orthodox calendar, but it's for the Western Rite. The Western Rite follows the Western calendar, the ancient Western calendar. They do the Benedictine prayers, which are Orthodox, they're pre-schism, and also the ancient Roman liturgy, which was being celebrated in Rome long before the schism within the Orthodox Church, right? So you will notice that All Saints Day is indeed November 1st for a few people at St. Constantine, right? Who follow, go one of our Western churches, and they do the Western Roman tradition, right? The Western Orthodox that are part of our Antiochian Archdiocese. And this is the same for other people who are non-Orthodox in the Western world that follow a liturgical calendar. November 1st may be All Saints Day. All Saints Day. So our Orthodox parishioners who go to St. Paul Orthodox Church in Katy, Texas, November 1st is All Saints Day for them, for that particular parish. For everybody else who are Eastern Rite, it is Cosmos and Damian. So this is something interesting. When do, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, except for the Western Rite, when do the rest of us celebrate All Saints Day? And here you're going to look at June 2023. This is coming up. We have Holy Pentecost on June 4th this year. And a week after Holy Pentecost, the Sunday after Holy Pentecost, is the Sunday of All Saints. So on the Eastern Orthodox calendar, that is the calendar the great majority of Orthodox use, we have Holy Pentecost, June 4th, and then All Saints Day is not November 1st, as it is traditionally in the West. But in the East, All Saints Day is the week after All Saints. So Pentecost and All Saints are closely connected. We celebrate all of the saints, those that are known and those that are unknown. And how different, if it in the ancient Orthodox world, how the East and West, how different commemorations developed, how you might have a commemoration in the West that wasn't in the East, how that all developed. To some, is fascinating history. But again, the question is, what does your parish follow? What is that calendar? What is the calendar of the school? And that is this calendar right here. Interestingly, those of us on the new calendar, on the Eastern new calendar and the Eastern old calendar, we still use the common calendar, the old way of calculating, all of us, the old way of calculating Great and Holy Pascha, right? What's called Easter in the West. So all of those feasts that are connected to Pascha, since we all celebrate Pascha on the same day, right? All Orthodox Christians. Now non-Orthodox may celebrate Easter on a different day than we do every year. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's not, but all Orthodox, I say all, I think there may be one country or so in the world that uses a different, may use a different calculation. But the great majority of us celebrate Pascha on the same day. So all of those feasts that are connected to Pascha, like Ascension, well, the beginning of Lent, of course, through Lent, and Ascension after Pascha, and Pentecost, and All Saints is connected to Pentecost. So those things that are connected to Pascha, since are counted 40 days or 50 days or whatever from Pascha, those are the same, right? So we do celebrate some feasts the same on the old calendar and new calendar, but our daily commemorations are different. So I thought I would mention. Okay, that's a really kind of short introduction to the calendars. It's very interesting that among Orthodox Christians in the city of Houston and within the school, there are 3 different liturgical calendars at work. And so the question again is you might say, isn't it confusing? And it's really not confusing as long as we understand, for the purpose of the school, that we use the Antiochian calendar. And the question always is, what on a parish level, what calendar does my church use? And it's interesting being a priest, because I may go and serve like in the Serbian church, and then I have to deal with a difference in calendar. And if you happen to visit a church, you may notice there's a difference in the calendar. And then the question is just what is that? What calendar is that parish using? So there's there's a diversity in calendar, but we have to realize we have become accustomed in the Orthodox Church to relative uniformity in a lot of ways. But we have to realize that in the Orthodox Church, there is uniformity of faith, and yet there is cultural diversity, and the calendar comes out of really the cultural diversity. It's kind of part of that, just like some liturgical differences, even in some cases, the shape of vestments, the style of chant, whether it's the various different kinds of Russian chant or Byzantine chant or Georgian chant or other types of chant or choral music or artistic style when it comes to iconography, right? There is a singular iconographic tradition, and yet there are many styles, schools of painting iconography that are diverse, right? So out of this unity of faith, Orthodoxy, again, it expresses itself and it transforms culture. I should say first transforms culture and expresses itself through culture. And so we get this beautiful diversity within the Orthodox Church. And sometimes the uniformity is found in particular geographic locations, right? If you go to Romania, if you go to Serbia, if you go to Russia or Ukraine, or you go to Lebanon, wherever you go in that particular place, you may find uniformity. And part of living in the United States is that, being an immigrant country, we have Orthodox churches that traditionally are rooted in geographic location, all coming to America. And that's why we have Serbian church and Romanian church and Antiochian church and Greek church, all of our different churches here. It's because we're an immigrant land, right? And we have all this cultural diversity. And we sometimes within our parishes, because we can have an Antiochian parish with people who are from China, Japan, Russia, Ukraine, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, all these different places in the world, and they bring their cultural traditions with them. So we see in America within singular churches, uh, cultural traditions, all kind of coming together. It's really a beautiful thing. So within Orthodoxy, historically, there is unity of faith, and yet there has always been liturgical diversity within the history of Orthodoxy in the East and in the West. And in some ways, we probably have more uniformity today liturgically than we did in the early years. So the fact that we have different calendars should not surprise us. And we have different cultures that those calendars came out of, and we follow the one that is appropriate for us. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video on the calendar. So a few people will celebrate All Saints Day on November 1st. For many of us who are Orthodox, it will be the feast of Saints Cosmos and Damian. Whatever the case, give glory to God and celebrate that day, whatever on your calendar. May the grace of the Holy Trinity be with you all.